Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestha Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samniti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestha Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Hare Krishna. Okay, so last time we had covered till 5th verse of second chapter, and today we'll see the next verse onwards. So we'll go to 6th verse today. Okay, so this is second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, contents of the Gita summarized, and we are in sixth verse will begin today. So we saw here again this chapter began with Sanjay mentioning the what Krishna speaks, seeing Arjuna in that condition, like because he had decided not to fight and he cast aside his bows and arrows, and then Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra. So there, Krishna, seeing the condition of Arjuna, he's like, how are all these things coming into your mind? How have these impurities come upon you? So then Arjuna says like, oh, because they are still on the level of friends, because they are cousins. So as they are still on, Arjuna and their cousins. So in that relation, they are on equal level. So how do we talk to our friends and cousins, or on somebody who is on an equal level? So Arjuna is also in similar ways like, oh, you are asking me to kill. Will you kill such exalted personalities like your own grandfather or your own teacher? Why are you asking me to kill? So I do not. Again he's putting the same point that, okay, I'm not going to kill them. I don't want to fight. I don't want this kingdom. So we'll go to 6th verse. It's very important. 2.7th verse is a turning point, actually, which comes in all of our lives, and that choice comes in all of our lives. And do we take it or not? How do we take that opportunity that's upon us? So 6th verse. Okay. Nisha Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji, I will read.
Do you have it, or you are seeing from my phone, from the screen?
No, Mataji, I have the text. I
You
will
have.
read.
Okay.
Na chetat vidma katrano garyo yadva jayama yadiva no jayo yaneva hatva na jiji vishwamas te yasthita pramukhe dhitrashta synonyms. Na nor cha also itat this vidma do we know katrat which na for us Gariya better Yatva whether Jayama we may conquer Yadi if va nor na us Jayu they conquer Yen those who no beta sorry va or na us Jayu they conquer Yan those who ever certainly Hatva by killing na never Jiji Vishma, we would want to leave. They, all of them, Avasthita, are situated Pramukhe in the front. Dhritarashtra, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Nor was there certainty of victory because either side might emerge victorious, even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified. Still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but also he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities, combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge, and without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, so further, Arjuna is trying to justify his decision not to fight. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live, yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. So, um, yeah. So again, he's trying to like whether if he, because he has already mentioned what will happen if uh, his, I mean the enemy, I mean Dhritarashtra's sons, they all will be killed, all his relatives like personalities like Bhishma Dev and all, if they all also are killed, if they are victorious also, they will not be able to enjoy that victory because it will be tainted with blood. Previously we saw one of the verses. Now again he's like, oh, what should I do, whether nowadays it is not sure whether we will be defeated or they will be defeated, who will be victorious. If we kill, we should not care to live, yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. So he's it is he's in this verse specifically is expressing indecisiveness, like he's so confused. Initially in the first chapter he was like, okay, in the beginning of the chapter, of course somebody is there on the battlefield, that means they have gone, you are going to give an exam, you are in the examination hall. What does it mean? You have come to give the exam, that's very clear. So here also Arjuna has come to fight the battle, but after seeing both the sides, he's like he was kind of decided, okay, I mean he's so much confused, and different symptoms were mentioned in the previous chapter. So he decided not to fight, but actually he knows very well, he's not a ignorant person, he knows very well that his duty as a Kshatriya is awaiting him now, but he doesn't want to fight, so he's in a very confused state. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. As earlier he has mentioned, I would prefer to be like live like a mendicant, not to kill. I don't want to kill such great personalities. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means. So that is because the Kshatriyas, they by nature they have, their nature is such that they have to be in that administrative power. They cannot act artificial as a brahmana or vaishya or shudra, whatever. They need some administrative position of power, even if victory awaited them. Now, this was also in the first chapter. We saw different signs of victory, of for the Pandavas. So practically from the beginning of the war, it was sure that the Pandavas are going to be victorious. But here, Arjuna is like, because he doesn't want to fight, so he's giving different points. It would be better, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Yeah. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna prove that he was not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and complete control. So earlier also he had mentioned that I'm giving these reasons, or I have heard this from disciplic succession. There was a statement in the previous chapter. Hmm. So which shows that he's not, he now ignorant person means he doesn't know anything, he doesn't know what is to be done, what is not to be done. But here Arjuna is, first of all, he's a great devotee, he's a pure devotee of the Lord. And the reasons which he gives also has shastric, is supported in the different shastras. However, there are different shastras, like on political basis, on dharma basis, on different uh, angles or different levels. But the topmost is what? Bhakti. So here, because Krishna had, it was all Krishna's arrangement, or Krishna wanted it in such a way, like, no, the war has to happen. So we'll see at the end of the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna will, he'll be like, okay, I'll do what you want me to do. So that is the highest. So Vedic scriptures, they are given for all categories of people. Somebody in the mode of ignorance, passion, goodness, or pure goodness. That is on at the level of bhakti. So those who cannot come directly to the level of bhakti, at least they can follow something as per their modes, at least they can follow some regulations from the Vedas, so that gradually they will be purified. So here we see Arjuna had full, he's not an ordinary person. From these characteristics itself shows that he's not an ordinary person. He's just taking the position of a conditioned soul so that the Bhagavad Gita can be spoken. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. Now, if you are born in a king's family, if you are king's daughter, then obviously you will not like to live like a beggar or something. Now, Arjuna is like, he's not attached to his royal family, or the as a king, or as a he's not attached to be living in a palace or something. It's like, okay, I don't want this war, is the consequences of this war is not going to be good, so I'm okay to live like a mendicant or like a beggar by begging. So he's detached. So this is also one quality that is exhibited, that Prabhupada is highlighting here. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. So here Arjuna become, we'll see in the next verse itself, Arjuna takes the position of the disciple and wants Krishna to be his spiritual master. It is concluded Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. Okay, this is very important, and this this point, this principle is repeated all throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I may become very learned, I may remember, all 700 shlokas, and one may give very nice explanations of Bhagavad Gita or scriptures or whatever. But unless the senses are controlled, if we have not controlled our senses, now externally one may remember all the shlokas or explain them very nicely, very, you know, very eloquently, but if one has not controlled the senses, then this knowledge, now one thing we must understand, that this knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, or this transcendental knowledge, is something which is revealed within the heart. By just studying, I cannot become, I may become learned, but I cannot become a devotee always, because there are so many people who um, claim to be so called spiritual, but not everybody is actually devotee. Even when Prabhupada's time, like before Prabhupada, where there were so many different sannyasis or yogis who went to the West, but none of them could actually give the essence of what Krishna had mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So this is because this is needed, senses has to be controlled, then this knowledge, then one can come to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge, now if senses are not controlled, then there is no proper understanding of the transcendental knowledge, and then without knowledge and devotion there is no chance of liberation. So one cannot get liberated from this material existence. Arjuna was competing in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. So we'll go to the next verse, which is very important verse. Okay, I will read this verse because we are going to discuss line by line from the purport itself. Okay. कार्पण्यदोषपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वं धर्मसमुद्धचेत यः श्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वं प्रपन्नम्. So as I mentioned, this 2.7, you can remember 2.7 is a very important verse. And this, what Arjuna did in this particular verse, we have to come to a point, in our life we have to, in our bhakti we have to come to this point of taking similar decision like Arjuna. Karpanya, of miserliness, dosha, by the weakness, apahata, being afflicted, swabhava, characteristics, prachami, I am asking, tvam, unto you, dharma, religion, samud, the bewildered, cheta, in heart, yat, what, shreya, all good, syat, may be, nishchitam, confidently, bruhi, tell, tat, that, may, unto me, shishya, disciple, te, your, aham, I am, shadhi, just instruct, mam, me, tvam, unto you, prapannam, surrender. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, now first of all, if we do a mistake, first of all we have to admit that I have done a mistake. So now you give me the correction. So Arjuna at least has realized that he's confused. So he's mentioning here to Krishna, saying to Krishna, now I'm confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. So he's admitting, now he was giving so many reasons not to fight, but finally he admits that, okay, I'm confused, I don't know what I should be doing. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. So the spiritual master knows what's best for the disciple. What's best in what sense? To taking out of the cycle of birth and death, to make him a pure devotee. He knows best. So based on the nature of the disciple, some disciple may be asked by the spiritual master, will ask some disciple, okay, you become very learned in the scriptures. Somebody else will ask, okay, you have to engage in practical services. Of course everybody has to do practical service. Let's say somebody, he asks, okay, you have to do book distribution. Somebody, okay, you have to do your sadhana very nicely. Of course overall everybody has to do the sadhana and everything, but a particular disciple, he may instruct or give a particular specific instruction sometimes. Now I'm a disciple, So, which shows that as Arjuna is mentioning, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. The point was that spiritual master knows what's best for him, and here for the disciple. And here, of course, Krishna is there, so he's a super soul. So Krishna knows, so he arranges for a sincere soul to come to a particular spiritual master. Now I am your disciple and the soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Hmm? So this position, we have to come to that point, that we accept a bona fide spiritual master, and okay, now I want to be your disciple. So I want to surrender to you. So please instruct me. So we have to come to that point. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. So, in material world is so designed. Further, in one of the verses, Krishna says, "This material world is dukkhalayam ashashwatam." It's full of dukkhalayam. Means what Gurudev mentions sometimes. Uh, uh, I think in some lecture, I don't remember Gurudev's or some other lecture. Dukkhalayam, yeah, some other lecture. In Hindi, I think it is mentioned, no? Where books are being sold or books are available in the shop. So it's called Pustakalaya, and something like those terms are there. So Dukhalaya means what? There is dukkha. So in the material world, there is only misery. There is only dukkha. Dukkhalayam ashashwatam. Ashashwatam is what? It is temporary. It's temporary. Everything in this material world is temporary, except bhakti. So, there is always always somebody. I mean, all of us are in a from a small ant to Brahmaji. So all of us going through some or the other suffering, and the major ones are what? But the real problems are birth, death, old age, and disease, and nobody can deny that they don't go through this. So, how to get out of all this misery or all the perplexity, confusion, delusion, illusion? So, by approaching, for the first step is to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give proper guidance. Who can tell us what is the purpose of our life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. We do not like somebody might have got COVID, so they didn't want to get COVID. So somebody got fever. No, you don't want that. Okay, I should get fever today. No, we don't desire like this. So what it happens? It's something. It's not in our control, or we get into confusion nowadays. So much of depression, anger, and all these things. It's not, we don't embrace those things. We don't want to get into it, but it just happens, it comes. They are like a forest fire. So it is compared to what? Forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. So nobody goes to a forest and sets fire. Just by the rubbing of the bamboos or rubbing of the things, the fire, it catches fire and the forest is on fire. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. So we do not want any confusion, any misery, and so on, but it happens because the material world is meant for that. It's a prison house. It's a like a what is called rehabilitation center, something. Anyways, it's a prison house. It's for reforming the criminals. So we are actually criminals here. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. So if you are drowning in the water, if you are trying to swim, you are trying to learn swimming, and suddenly you are drowning in the water or in a pond or something. But so you don't know swimming, so you are drowning. Now somebody else who is also drowning, can he save you? No. If you are if you are drowning in the water, and somebody else is also drowning in the water, that person cannot save you. Somebody who is out of that position, somebody who knows to swim, or somebody who is out of water, they can save you. So now we are in perplexities because we are conditioned soul. Now somebody who is beyond these perplexities, such a person can save you, and that is the bona fide spiritual master. Now, what is bona fide? Why this term is mentioned? Which means that he is authentic, like he's coming in the disciplic succession. He's following his spiritual master, who is following his spiritual master, and it goes back to Krishna. So it has to be a unbroken. He must be coming from an unbroken chain of disciplic succession. Nobody can just dress up like a a spiritual person and say, okay, I am a spiritualist, or I'm a kind of spiritual trainer or spiritual master or whatever. No, one has to see. That's why there are so much of so many bogus so-called spiritual leaders or spiritual teachers who are actually not spiritual, but they are just making money out of it. And that was also happening when Prabhupada went to the West. There are so many Mayavadis and so on. But none of them were actually giving these teachings of Bhagavad Gita. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. So if we have actually if we have actually accepted a bona fide spiritual master, which means what, we follow his instructions, then we will come to know everything. What is to be done, what is not to be done, how what's the purpose of my life. So we like it's mentioned, a person with a bona fide spiritual is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. So that is the speciality of this human form. Animals and all, they cannot understand, okay, approaching a bona fide spiritual master or studying or discussing Bhagavad Gita like this. They cannot understand these things. This is the purport of this verse. Now, who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does. So what does material perplexities means? Is it, okay, I'm not able to pay my electricity bills, or I'm not able to get a bonus or promotion? So these are not the perplexities, these are not the problems of life. The actual thing is, it is, so who is a man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. So first of all, we do not understand the problems of life. So what are the problems of life? Birth, death, old age and disease. It's a major problems. The actual problems. There's no point of saying major problems, but it's actual problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.10, the perplexed man is described as follows: Yova etad aksharam garya avidit aviditvashman lokat praiti sa kripana. He is a miserly man who doesn't solve the problems of life as a human, and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. So actually it's mentioned many times. Gurudev mentions, as well as Prabhupada mentions in his lectures. Human beings, now we walk on two legs. Most of the animals walk on four legs. I mean, they don't have specific hands. They have four limbs and hind limbs, but they are like legs. They walk on four legs. Now, even if, I mean, we may be walking on two legs, but if we still have the mentality like the animals, what is our mentality? What is the similarity between animals and the humans? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. If we are also involved in these four activities, then there is no difference between human beings and animals. So humans are also in scriptures called, such humans are called as what? Dvipada Pashu means what? Two-legged animals. So, such a person is actually a kripana or miserly person who does not solve, who doesn't try to find out the problems of life, and is, of course, we don't find out, then we can't solve also, and thus quits the world like animals. This human form of life is the most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving. So, it's the most valuable thing. It's not money, power, position, or these things are not so important. But this, I mean, one gets this as per one's previous karma and all. But we should understand this human form is very valuable for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana. Now, miser means what? Kripana, we understood. What the opposite of that? A Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life, who can utilize this human form to solve the real problems of life. So, Brahmana is very clearly it's mentioned what does it mean to be a brahmana. It's not as per, it's not a caste, or it's not from birth, but one who actually understands, one who is actually interested in self realization. Ya etad aksharam gari viditvatsmat lokat praitisa brahmana. So again, Prabhupada is quoting from Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, the part which shloka which refers to who is a brahmana. The creepiness or miserly persons waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc., in the material conception of life. So now practically everybody is doing that. We are also doing, but at least we have come to Krishna consciousness or come in contact with this process, so we have some hope. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members on the basis of skin disease. So, she is my wife, he is my husband, she is my child, he is my child, they are my friends, they are my parents, this is my house, this is my property, I, me, and mine. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. So even animals, if you earlier when I was watching before coming to Krishna consciousness, I used to watch Discovery Channel, and there was some other Geographic Channel and all. So there they would show many things, no, animals also. They protect their kids, they how they take care of them, and they have their own, family kind of, So such family attachment is existing even among the lower forms who take care of children of their children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexity. So he knew what his duty was, and what was the problem. Why, I mean, like he had this um, got this thought or this idea of, okay, I shouldn't be killing, oh, they will be killed, that fear of loss of life. But his duty was awaiting. He knew that he has to do it, that is what dharma, because they were on the side of dharma and they had to fight. But so at least he understood that, okay, he understood his own confusion. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. So he understood that, okay, I cannot solve my problems. I have to approach some higher authority who can save me from this perplexed condition. And because Krishna himself was on the chariot, so he became his disciple, offered himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Friendly talks, some friend may give you some suggestion or something. You may take it, you may not take it, but some higher authority will ask you to do something. It is like an order, it's like an instruction coming, and you have to do it. So the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple is also like that. It's not that, oh, you gave me this. Disciple cannot say that, okay, I don't like this instruction of the spiritual master, I don't want to follow. Now somebody is like, okay, accepts that instruction, yes, I should do it, but because of my anarthas, or somehow I'm not able to, but I will try to do. So that is a different attitude. But thinking that, okay, this instruction is, I mean, I don't like it, so I don't want to follow, so that is a different attitude, which is a wrong attitude. So the disciple, the perfect attitude of how a disciple should be towards a spiritual master is given here. Nicely Prabhupada is mentioning here. Arjuna wants to talk very now. Okay, he wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. Of course, in the fourth chapter, Krishna will mention there that this knowledge was given earlier also, but that chain of disciplic succession, it appeared to be broken. So of course it was existing always, it's always existing, but appeared to be broken at that point of time, so it had to be given again. And in this case, Arjuna became the first disciple. um, how Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself, and yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There's no difference between Krishna's within and without, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. So there are many versions of Bhagavad Gita. Before Prabhupada gave us this Bhagavad Gita as it is, or Bhagavad Gita Yatharup, which what we say in Hindi, there were so many other versions or editions or whatever you can say of Bhagavad Gita written by different personalities, but it was all the distorted. What Krishna had actually said, that was not being communicated there. For example, the Mayavadis, they are of their explanation is that, okay, one has to submit to Krishna, okay, what Arjuna did, but not, Krishna is not a person. One has to submit to the unborn, or to the that universal, uh, to that Krishna, within the unborn within Krishna, or something like to that what do you say, because the Mayavadis, they don't consider that the Lord has a form. He has taken a form, but superior is this formless thing, formless nature. So that is not true. So Prabhupada is mentioning is there's no difference between Krishna's within and without, because he's first of all, there's no difference between any of the limbs of Krishna also. It is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita that how any of his limbs can act in any way. For example, when we offer bhoga to the Lord, generally we eat with our, we put it into our mouth and we eat. Now we cannot put it in our ears and eat. But Krishna, just by hearing our prayers, he can accept that bhoga. Just by seeing those offerings, he can accept that bhoga. So there's no difference. So Krishna is he's transcendental. It's our material form is limited, but Krishna is completely transcendental. Even when he comes in different avatars, he's transcendental. So one who is trying to has no proper understanding, he's the one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. So we have to follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, how Arjuna understood. So we have to understand teachings in that way. Okay, I'll stop here. I'm sorry I took quite long time. So, if anybody has anything to add or you have any queries, then we can discuss that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. My question is, after leaving this material realm, does the devotee remain forever with his spiritual master? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Very nice question. Yes, um, I can give a practical example like Srila Prabhupada's disciples, who are those who are now, there were so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada, I mean, initiated disciples, but many of them, um, even during Srila Prabhupada's time, they were not able to follow because of some reason, whatever. But till now, after Srila Prabhupada left in 1977, if I'm not wrong, so many years, there are so many of his disciples who are following his instructions strictly. Now, how is it possible for them to continue to go on for such a long time without any association of the spiritual master? No, actually, they are having the association of the spiritual master, that is Srila Prabhupada, all the time. Mm. So they are all eternally, I mean, they're all uh, having, I mean, Prabhupada is present all the time with such disciples, or the spiritual master is present with his disciple always. Uh, and yes, this relation is between the disciple and the spiritual master is eternal. It is eternal. Now, wherever now, Prabhupada was traveling all over the world. So some disciples were, when they were in America, maybe he was traveling somewhere in Europe or India or some other place. So all the time they were not having his physical association, but still Prabhupada was there with them all the time for those who were following his instructions, or at least sincerely trying to follow his instructions. Even like that, in that way. And even after Prabhupada left also, those are following, so Prabhupada is there with them. So yes, this relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple is eternal, wherever they are. It doesn't matter physically where one is, but the relation is eternal. Just like our relationship with Krishna is eternal, our relationship with the spiritual master is also eternal. He is our eternal, like, spiritual father. When at the time of initiation, it said the spiritual master becomes the spiritual father. Now there are animals also get birth. They also have parents, father and mother. So we also have father and mother. But what's the difference? Animals also have, we also have, so we are also on the category of animals. Now second birth, or dvija, what is the term? Twice born, yes. Second birth is when one takes initiation. So then the spiritual master, in the presence of Yageshwar, that's Krishna, yagya will be happening in the presence of fire. Spiritual master and the spiritual master becomes a spiritual father, and the Vedas, the scriptures, they become a spiritual mother. So that is second birth, or that's the actual um, birth, twice born. So yeah, that relation is eternal. Did that answer your question?
Yes, Mataji, thank you for such a wonderful explanation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for your nice question. Pramila Mataji, do you have anything to add or anything to say? Okay, if not, we will close for today. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam.